What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers. And with the college football season just around the corner, we're going to have a little fun today. We're going to have a very early prediction for who we think are going to be the top 12 teams in the brand new college football playoff format. It's going to be a fun show today. Join me here today. He is part of one half of the Under the Bleachers podcast, Mr. William Yanish III. William, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great, man.
Good. Of course, the founder of Draft Utopia coming back on the show and talking about his teams, Chris Ransom. Chris, what's going on today?
Not much. We're going to talk about the 12-team playoff. It's the college football playoff times 3, except it's a lot. It's going to be 3 times as epic as the previous 4-team playoff.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. And, of course, rounding things out today is the founder of the channel here, Mr. Football himself, football encyclopedia, some might say, Mr. Football Vincent Turner. Vincent, what's going on, man?
Pig suey, baby. University of Arkansas in the house.
There you go. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And also drop your predictions for who do you think will make the college football playoff top 12 teams. So, William, I know you've got your list, and I know you have a couple teams on the fringe who might make it. So let's get to it. Who do you have making the top 12 and maybe then some?
Okay, well, I hadn't exactly gotten this filled out per se, but just off the top of my head, writing out some notes here before the show. Of course, I got Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Ohio State. Utah should be there with Cam Rising and his just excellent play when he's not hurt. Other than that, Liberty, Notre Dame, can definitely go undefeated. Coming down to the fringe is where the Drew Aller led Penn State team, Jackson Dart and Ole Miss. I've been saying in episodes lately, I want to see Iowa do something, and like I said, I feel that they can ruin somebody's day, and it was a coach one time was talking about the situation with Tom Brady and Drew Henson at Michigan, and then looking at Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy, they were saying that, oh man, my brain just went away. Anyway, man, no. But other than that, you've got Oregon. I'd like to see LSU go. Kansas, Liberty. Other than that, the ones that could technically sneak in are, Texas Tech, Noah Fafita, and Arizona. I mean, all that kid does is win, and that is an excellent thing. There's also in this whole category, Boise State is always a tough team, and I feel that they can definitely hang on to that fringe. But other than that, looking at these schedules, some of these guys, it's just like a cakewalk, and then the other ones are getting beat up 3-4 weeks in a row, and there is such drastic picks. But when it finally comes down to the championship, I would have to say that it's going to be Georgia and Texas, or it's going to be Georgia and Ohio State, and I just feel that it depends what Kalen DeBauer can do at Alabama with Jalen Milroe, considering what he did with Michael Penix in Washington. That is going to be something to really, really watch. So that's really, the top 4 teams that I have right there.
Okay.
And other than that, it's just looking like with what's going on and how they, pick the seeds and everything in these brackets is something that's, a little bit different, but, it's going to be, some learning, looking up this stuff. And I know Chris has, got information for days over there. So, I mean, I'll pass it on to you.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
I'll go next. I do have Ohio State at 1 and Georgia at 2. I think you can make an argument for Georgia at 1 as well. But I think Ohio State's got an easier schedule and a better chance of going undefeated compared to Georgia, because Georgia's going to have to play at Texas and at Alabama. I still think Georgia wins the SEC, but they're going to lose one of those conference games. They may end up losing both of those conference games and still getting to the SEC title game. But I have Ohio State at 1 as my Big Ten champion, Georgia at number 2. The third team getting a bye week is the Miami Hurricanes with Cam Ward and Damian Martinez are my ACC champions for this upcoming season. So I have the U as my 3 seed. And at number 4, rounding out the bye teams, is the Utah Utes with Cam Rising. William mentioned them earlier. I think they're going to win the Big 12, and that would make them the 4th and final team to get a bye week in the top 4 seeds. And then you get to number 5. I have an undefeated Notre Dame team hosting an undefeated Liberty team in the 12-5 matchup of the college football playoff. Liberty, my group of 5 team. Notre Dame, Benjamin Morrison, Xavier Watts at safety. They did lose Cam Hart, but they have a lot of talent returning in the secondary. Very strong defense. Riley Leonard at quarterback. Mitchell Evans at tight end. They're not a team to sleep on. And my 11-6 matchup involved 1-loss Penn State Nittany Lions and an LSU team that I have losing to Georgia in the SEC title game. I have LSU and Nussmeier going 12-0 and losing to Georgia in the SEC title. So LSU moves up to number 6 as a result of this. And then I have a 7-10 matchup between the Texas Longhorns and Oregon Ducks, where the Big Ten runner-up Oregon Ducks host the Texas Longhorns. But the most intriguing matchup in the bracket is the 9-8 matchup, which features the Michigan Wolverines heading to Neyland Stadium to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. And for my bracket, I have Ohio State. I have Notre Dame, LSU, Oregon, and Tennessee winning, all as higher seeds. And then I have Ohio State beating Tennessee, Georgia defeating Oregon. The U defeats LSU in a surprise, but LSU could play spoiler and win that. And I have Notre Dame beating Utah. I flirted with picking LSU over Miami, but I ended up going with Miami. So I have Ohio State over Notre Dame. I have Georgia over Miami, and I have Ohio State over Georgia. But ultimately, I think it's going to be Georgia and Ohio State last 2 at the end of the day, regardless of who wins that matchup. Those 2 are the preseason top 2 for a reason. And even if they're seeded lower or underperform in the regular season, they could still get hot in 12-team playoff and end up meeting when it's all said and done.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've never seen this before, so it's going to be interesting to see. And Vincent, who are some teams you got on your list at the end of the year?
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go from 12 to 1.
Okay.
And I hope my 12 teams, I feel strongly about them. Of course, I got so much talent around me. I hope I don't disappoint nobody this evening. I really don't. I'm going to start with my 12 team. They're going to surprise some people. They're playing the American Conference, the AAC, my hometown, where I'm from, the 901, the Memphis Tigers. Ryan Silverfield had them 10-3 last year. They got a Pro Bowl player at the linebacker position, Chandler Martin. That's my 12th team. Coming in number 11, no disrespect to you, Chris, but I got Notre Dame. I think this year they're going to turn the corners with head coach Marcus Freeman, touchdown Jesus, Joe Montana, Dave Casper. They're finna come through that door. Number 10, Penn State is my 10th team. James Franklin, man, you did an outstanding job when you was in Nashville. Did he not, Logan? Did he not have Vanderbilt? But, man, you've been in Penn State 10 years. You can't get over the hump because you can't beat Michigan and Ohio State. But you're going to make the playoffs this year. I like Drew Allar as their quarterback. Number 9, the Michigan Wolverines. I hate to say it, but y'all might be taking a step back. But I think y'all going to make the playoffs, though. I think just because of y'all history, Mike Ken, Tom Brady, even though Jim Harbaugh has left, y'all still got an outstanding defense. 2 of the best defensive tackles in the country, Kenneth Gant and Mason Graham. And number 8, woo-wee. I hope a lot of people don't be mad at me, Logan. Roll Tide. Ooh. Can I say it again, Logan?
Go ahead.
Roll Tide. Kalen DeBoer, you came into the toughest job in the country. They only have one thing they want, which is expectations. And Logan, what do they think down there in Tuscaloosa? National
Titles or bust.
There you go. Championship or bust. William brought up a good point that I like. I really want to see how Jalen Merrill is going to play this year. If he becomes the Michael Penix as he was in Washington next year, Alabama's going to be my sleeper to win it all. That's going to be very important to me.
Yeah, that is a great pick right there, man. You know, and it's I can't wait to see it, man.
Let's see. Keep going, Vincent.
Ole Miss Rebels.
Ooh.
Jackson Dart come in number 17. Lane Kiffin has did a hell of a job down there, man. Remember, in the first time in school history, they won over 10 games. And to have this team in a college playoff conversation, because, see, Memphis is only 50 miles away from Oxford, Mississippi, and it's not nothing in Oxford. But they got great, strong football history. When you talk about Ole Miss, you got to mention one guy, Archie Manning. So I like the Rebels. They come in number 7 on my list. The Texas Longhorns. Can Quinn Ewers, can he be the next Vince Young? Steve Sarkisian, you're doing a lot of talking. But can the Longhorns, can you take it over the top? Number 5, how can you not like the Oregon Ducks, man? Dylan Gabriel is going to be like a man in an offense. Think about what Bo Nix did last year. Oregon averaged, 461 yards total offense? They average almost 44 points a game. Bo Nix goes, in the first round, 12th overall? And then you got, a 5-year guy that's played at a high level at Oklahoma and Central Florida? Oregon is going to be there. They come in my number 5 team.
Yes, sir. I mean, they've got Evan Stewart in the portal. They got their number 1 receiver back, and they got their 2 offensive tackles back, plus their tight end. They're going to be loaded offensively. I think Oregon leads the country in passing yards this year.
And Evan Stewart is a 5-star. He's a bowler.
Exactly.
And then Utah.
Dan Lanning, man.
Yeah.
Just
but before I move on, Dan Lanning, got to give him love, man, because when you looked at that Oregon job, after Mario Cristobal bailed on them and went to Miami, you had to say to yourself, who are they going to bring in? But Dan Lanning has did a hell of a job, more than I thought he would ever be having Oregon at where they at right now. And you know what? Guess what Dan Lanning got his early coaching ability? He was a grad assistant at the University of Memphis. Coming in at number 4, my Utah Utes. How can you not like this football team? They play physical football, like William said, Kyle Willingham, like Chris said, they're going to win the Big 12, Cam Rising, NFL pro quarterback. Yeah. They come in at number 4. Number 3, Bobby Butler. Bobby, I hope you're watching. The Florida State knows. Mike Norvell, you got an angry football team in school that felt disrespected last year. My only question I want to ask the panel, Jordan Travis was a hell of a football player with them, throwing the football and rushing. I'm trying to say, why would y'all go out and get DJU that struggled throwing the football? He had to lead Clemson. Then he goes out to Oregon State. Not an overall passer. I think that's
he's sloppy, and his mechanics are loose, and just like you're saying, man, he's not much of a quarterback. He's got a ton to clean up, outside of the experience that he does have,
But one thing though, Florida State has an NFL roster. Marvin Jones Jr., NFL ready. Patrick Payton, NFL ready. Josh Farmer, NFL ready. They got some serious players. They're very talented. Now, I had to battle with this, and I was probably like Chris on this one. Ohio State or Georgia. I went to Ohio State number 2. NFL roster had a lot of people that came back. Jack Sawyer, Denzel Burke came back. But my question is the quarterback position. Even though Trayvon Henderson's an excellent player, Quayshawn Junkins is an excellent player. But to me, for Ohio State, the biggest question mark is not only Chip Kelly become the offensive coordinator, what is Will Howard going to do? He lost his job at Kansas State to a true freshman, to Avery Johnson. That's why he left Kansas. That's the only question I got with Ohio State. And of course, fellas, Logan, you know I couldn't go with but the Dogs, number one. Kirby Smart has done a job that I think he's going to have the Georgia program back to the early programs of USC back in the 70s, the Miamis of the 2000s. 63 players drafted on his watch since he's been there 8 years. 63 players. And he got at least 8 players that's going to be drafted in the first 2 rounds. Malachi Starks, Tank Ratledge, Carson Beck, Trevian
Kel Williams.
Oh,
there you go.
Grudger.
Might be the best player out on pound for pound. Dalen Everett, the corner. Sal Munden, the linebacker. Go Dogs. That's my 12 here today on the College Football Playoff Show.
It's going to be interesting, guys. First time we get 12 teams.
I just sat here and wrote out a list, and I think I got 12 pretty much nailed. So I'll read that one from the bottom. We start out.
Let's do it.
State, Iowa. Nobody mentioned Oklahoma State. They're going to be there. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas, Notre Dame, Utah, Oregon, Miami, Ohio State, and Georgia. I like
That's it. That's a mic drop right there, sir. I like it. Guys, we want to hear your comments, though. Put in our comments, Facebook, YouTube. Who's going to be your top 12 teams? Who's making it to the first ever 12-team college football playoff? Who's it going to be? It's going to be any of the teams we listed here. Some of the ones that maybe we didn't put on our list. We don't know in our comments. Once again, thank you to Chris Ransom, William Yanish III, and, of course, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner, for coming on the show, lending your expertise and all the teams you think are going to be filling those spots come the end of the season. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers, guys. Until next time, we'll see you.